Okay, folks, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. We're running a few minutes late, giving people a little more time to file in as traffic and getting out of work and one thing and another. We don't have a formal agenda for this meeting like we do our normal meetings, but would like to open with the Pledge of Allegiance as normal and do one other thing that we don't typically do is offer up a word of prayer. I'm going to ask Ed to lead us in a brief prayer, and we're seeking the Lord's wisdom as we make this significant decision this evening. So if you'll stand and join me in the pledge, we'll get started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would, I would like to invoke the presence of the Lord in this meeting. So if you would join with me. Father God, we come before you as humble as we know how, and we ask that you would guide us, Lord, so that we may be united in the spirit of mutual respect and exchange of ideas and goals, not simply as individuals with differing points of view, but as the model citizens that we strive to be. In our discussion here tonight, let us not forget for whom we do this: our friends, our neighbors, all citizens of Fayetteville. Please help us to be informative in this forum, and in doing so, help us to be successful in our obligations to share with those here our individual political perspectives. As we seek, God, your guidance and your inspiration in all our thoughts and our decisions, we ask that you would lift up the Rapson family in the loss of the mother of Brother Steve Rapson. Comfort the family during this difficult time, dear God. Be with them and remind them that your word says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. But come in its deliberations and let us be civil, dear God. Let us be respectful, but most of all, let us be mindful of your words that says that if we would continue to love ye one another, that all things may be done decently and in order. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ed. He didn't get one. All right, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. You should have noticed a sign-up sheet at the entrance. Oh, we do have some on the agenda. I just didn't have a copy of it. Sign-up sheet at the entrance. We got a big crowd tonight, and we will limit comments to 3 minutes per person, please. I don't think it's necessary for us to hear the same points over and over. If we can do something, maybe show of hands or something for those that support any particular point, so that everybody's opinion can be evaluated. But rehearsing the same information over and over, I think, would not particularly be helpful. It would just extend the length of the meeting, and I'm sure everybody has other things they'd like to be doing this evening besides spending their evening at City Hall. But again, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. We do appreciate that. Yes, sir?
I would take issue right there.
What statement?
We've never had this many people out here, not an issue. And I think it's going to find you and council to listen to each and every one of them, however long they want to speak, as long as it takes. And the opportunity to express our opinion will not be free.
Thank you, Mr. Maker. I'll take that under advisement. But at any rate, let's go ahead and proceed. We'll open with a presentation from the county. Mr. Patterson, are you ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mayor Clifton and Fayetteville City Council members, my name is Lewis Patterson. I'm the Human Resources Director at Fayette County. And
once again, this is a meeting of mayor and council of the city of Fayetteville. Many of us have heard the county's presentation. What you're talking about doing is surrendering the fire department of Fayetteville. It's incumbent upon mayor and council to make the presentation. to convince the citizens of this city that it's in their best interest. I would like to hear a presentation from Mayor. I don't mean to be rude, Michelle.
Well, I appreciate that, but we will proceed with the county making their presentation. The facts and numbers have been altered somewhat from the previous public presentation, and for the benefit of the education of the citizens, it is necessary for the county to make the presentation. And then Mr. Morton will make the presentation on the city's behalf, and then we will have our public comment time. So you may proceed, and please don't interrupt again, sir.
Okay, we'll go through this, starting with the assumptions that we had to deal with from revenue and expenditures. We needed to take into consideration the millage rate in unincorporated Fayette County, Fayetteville's 2013 digest, and your fire services budget for 2013. The expenditures that we were looking at were the effects on the county's comp and class system, our retirement defined benefit, what impact this would have, health care plans, and the impact on the command structure at headquarters. We had to look at the staffing transition, putting Fayetteville employees onto our step and grade system, making adjustments for the impact this would have on our defined benefit program, and health care benefits were not factored in. I think it was discussed at the meeting 2 weeks ago that your benefits package next year will be significantly different from what it is this year, and I think that's a fair statement, Joe. You agree with that? So that was not factored in. We had to look at the staffing compensation to maintain pay parity and give consideration to the certification standards for consistency of our operations. You've seen this slide before talking about the revenues and expenditures for the county versus the city and their respective fire operations. Fayette County has revenues for fire operations just over $8.3 million, with expenditures of just over $8.2 million. So the county is operating with a small surplus, still in the black, a little over $48,000. On the city side, and these are numbers that were supplied by the city staff to us, taking in revenue of just over $2 million against expenditures of a little over 2.4. So you have a shortfall of a little over $358,000. We did meet with all of your employees last Thursday and Friday, and I think it was the direction from the council that your employees not be harmed in any way in the transition were it to occur. Joe Morton, Ellen Wells, Steve Rapson, and myself met one-on-one with all of your staff last Thursday and Friday. We heard a lot of concerns. We dispelled some rumors, and we took a lot of things into consideration and made some changes on the fly. Fayetteville employees who elect to enter into the Fayette County Defined Benefit Plan will receive an additional 2.5% of salary to compensate for what they're required to contribute to our plan. We showed them those numbers. If they elect to go into our DC plan, because that's a walk-away plan or a portable plan, they're not going to get that extra incentive. And firefighters here at Fayetteville who are fully vested in their retirement we'll draw that at age 62. That will just freeze when they leave the city. And the city's been working with GMA, your defined benefit provider, to get a provision for employees who come over to be able to draw that benefit at age 55 instead of 62. That was something that was on the table at the last consolidation, and we heard loud and clear that was a very important consideration. And according to email received from Mr. Morton this afternoon, I believe that has been overcome, and Joe's correct that will happen. So that last piece of the puzzle, I think, came into place. So that's really good news for your folks. Because of the difference between the city and county retirement, Fayetteville has proposed a lump sum incentive based upon your retirement formula that will be deposited into the employee's 457 or 401 account here at the city to offset that gap between the city and county plan. They can leave it here at the city, or they can bring it over to the county, roll it into our plan. When we met with all the employees, they got a lot of numbers. Ellen filled out some information. We had their salary that they're making here at the city with you. We gave them the salary for the slot that they were looking to go into at the county. We also gave them that salary figure if they wanted to go into the defined benefit plan with that extra 2.5%. We pointed out that the Kelly days are calculated differently, or actually paid differently, I mean, at the county. You have your Kelly days put into comp, and we actually have it in overtime in our pay cycle. So that amounts to about an extra $850 a year above and beyond the salaries that we were quoting. So we gave them that number. And then, of course, Joe talked at length with each one of them about this lump sum number. So they had all of that information with them when they left. We also gave them another copy of our benefits package, which has also been on the internet for a little while for everybody to gander at. So we gave them a lot of information, spent a lot of time with them. The next item here, talking about fire captains who don't want to be into the company command staff or in a field position. That may be because there's a little bit of angst of going back to school to get an associate's degree, and if it's been a while since you've been in school, that can be an intimidating thing. So we're going to consider finding a place for them in the command staff at headquarters. And people who are in class now for paramedics or will need to get their paramedics, we've stepped up to the plate. We're going to pay for that. Anybody who's already in that class now will reimburse their expenses to date and then pick up the tab for the rest of the course. And I just want to point out there was a misquote in one of the papers today that said the county was also going to pay for associate degrees. We're not going to pay for associate degrees, but we are going to cover the cost of the paramedic course. And then just going to jump down to this next bullet here, talking about the 2- and 3-year windows for the paramedic or the associate training that they may desire to take. Those windows are going to start ticking when they get into the class and the class starts. We're not going to set the timer off on July 1st or whenever the transition may occur if it is approved. So, you know, we're just being reasonable and sensible about that. Backing up one, Fayetteville fire staff have the option of leaving or having their existing leave balance paid out by the city, or the city can write us a check and we'll transfer it over onto our books. So not going to lose anything there. And we'll recognize vesting years for any promotional opportunities. We have some positions that require maybe 2 years with the county fire department, so if you've been with the city for 2 years, and that would go towards that on the county side if they want to be considered for a promotion. We're going to recognize the Fayetteville seniority for the purpose of accruals. If you come over as a 15-year employee with the city, then you'll be put on our 15-year accrual earning table. We'll recognize the Fayetteville vesting for purposes of retirement. And we'll also accommodate vacation. Some people may have a cruise booked in September or something. You've got money you've already spent and you're committed for that. And we're not going to gig anybody for that. So we'll work with folks on commitments they already have. Everybody was when we met with everybody, we discussed our options for moving over. Fire captains can come over as a captain, or they could take a voluntary demotion into a lieutenant, FAO, or firefighter EMT position, and we talked with each person about that. Fire lieutenants, of course, could come over as a lieutenant or opt to drop down to FAO or firefighter EMT. Of course, if they work their way back up, each time they come up, that'd be another 10% increase going back up. So we covered that with everybody individually. Firefighters, of course, are kind of locked into coming over as a firefighter. And then we've got the top 3 positions: fire chief, deputy fire chief, and fire captain of technical services. And of course, we met with each one of these individually as well. Just want to make one footnote. Anytime you have a merger in the private or public sector, a lot of anxiety the further you get up the pyramid to the top as to, you know, where you're going to wind up, like musical chairs, to have a seat when the music stops. And we do have a position for everybody within our organization. And just want to point out, we have made an effort with your chief to give him an opportunity to consider a different position than what we originally laid out. When we met with him, we did talk about getting his thoughts on what he thought about the options and the organizational structure, and he did indicate he favored a structure that had 2 deputy chiefs reporting to the fire chief. That's a structure we've had in place in the past for many years, and we asked him, you know, if we did consider that type of structure, would he be interested in one of the deputy chief positions? And he said he was not interested. To his credit, he did say he was concerned, you know, about his people. And you know, there's been a lot of talk about he doesn't have a position, his pay is going to be severely cut, and all this kind of stuff. Just want you to know, as his employer, that we did work with him to offer him, you know, something a little bit higher up than where he's going to be in place when he comes over, if the transition does occur. Some of the justifications will retain all full-time Fayetteville fire staff, and your fire stations obviously stay open. It enhances the existing delivery of the fire services and operations, alleviates any of the future annexation issues as far as coverage. There will be better promotional opportunities within a larger organization. All of the current city fire engines would be upgraded to ALS, Advanced Life Support rating, so that's going to improve medical capability. And the Veterans Fire Station out at Pinewood would stand up 2 years ahead of the schedule that you currently have it projected at. And finally, Fayetteville residents would be eligible for a Fayette County homestead exemption. An implementation team would be put into place consisting of the fire chief, deputy fire chief, administrative services division chief, and the technical services division chief to come up with an action plan to develop the steps and the process to make this happen. It's a very important fact that you got to have good communication. And you see communication noted here in 3 of these bullets. If we don't communicate, we're going to have some issues. So we're committed to communicating what's going to happen so everybody's on the same sheet of music, and we have a smooth transition. The goal, of course, to be fully operational by July 1st. Some of the logistics that go into play, the city and the county would need to enter into an IGA for the fire services. Fayetteville will be paying the county $202,886 a month for the remainder of this calendar year. And January 1st, the Fayette County Fire Tax Digest would be included for city residents, and that's going to offset the current city tax. And by virtue of then paying a county fire tax, Fayetteville homeowners would be eligible for an additional homestead exemption of $5,000 above and beyond any current homestead exemption they have now. So I think at this point I'm going to stop and turn it over to Joe, or you just want me to advance it to the next slide for you?
That'd be great,
Okay.
Louis. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Passion.
Before I start, my presentation is very short. It's dealing primarily with the financial aspects of this issue, the millage rates, the taxes, and also potential budget savings to the city. There's been a lot of questions about that. Mayor and Council asked staff to put together the slide that you have in front of you that I think answers most everybody's, or will address most everybody's question. There's a lot of information on this slide, so I will walk you through it. Before I do that, I just want to say thanks to all the firefighters that we met with last Thursday and Friday, and thanks to the county folks for meeting with us. That was a very, in my opinion, a very productive process. We knew very early on in the meetings that we did have some issues in compensation and benefits, and that we were going to have to bridge some gaps there. And we kind of rolled up our sleeves and started tackling the issues as it came up. And we were literally dealing with things on the fly. We were making phone calls from the room, and we were trying to deal honestly with the issues that we were being made aware of at that time. And I think by the end of the day on Friday, we had pretty much resolved the issues, with the exception of the GMA thing that we got notified today about. We'd pretty much resolved everything that was put in our lap on those days. So again, I want to say thanks to all the firefighters for coming in very prepared. Most of them had a list of issues that were important to them in the department, and we just let them go right through those things and try to tackle. Didn't matter whether it was compensation or benefits, if it was organizational or operational, we tried to deal with everything they put on the table that day. So again, I want to say thanks to everybody. But could I have the clicker? I'm going to need to, could you get that for me, Alan? Let me, just throw it at me. So as I said, there's a lot of information on here, and there's a couple of assumptions if you look on the bottom, and I'll try to go over those where everybody understands. I mean, all financial projections are based on assumptions, so you need to understand what the basis of our assumptions are. The first thing, or one of the things we want to show you in this slide is, what the impact would be to a typical home in Fayetteville. So some of our council members have asked us to show that. So we just used a $200,000 value home with an $80,000 assessed value, okay? okay? So we're going to show you what the taxes would be on a consolidated environment versus a non-consolidated environment. So what you're going to be looking at is kind of a side-by-side comparison, with the left being without consolidation, meaning that we continue to operate the fire department the way we have today and with the plans that we have on the table for the future, versus a consolidated environment, okay? So let's just start right up at the top on the left-hand side under the current environment that we're operating in. And you can see here the current operations, the city general fund millage rate is 3.115 mills. Okay, so again, on the assumption of a $200,000 home, that's an annual tax of $249.20. So total city taxes for our current operations, $249, and I rounded that over. So now when you factor in, I think most of you have heard about the 5-year projections, the 5-year plan, all the things that we talked about in retreat back in February. Well, when you start factoring that in, which includes standing up a new fire station, our original plan was for 2018. You've seen the comparison. The county said they will stand that station up in 2016. Well, we went ahead and revised this plan to be apples to apples. So this is actually standing up the station in 2016, okay, just like the county's proposed, so apples to apples here. So when you do that, and again, a couple of the assumptions that you need to be made aware of, or everybody needs to understand what went into this, is we're assuming that we would finance a fire station over a 10-year period. We're not going to pay cash for a fire station. What we presented at the retreat was a worst-case scenario. We projected using all the fund balance. We wouldn't do that in a normal situation. So we're financing the fire station. We're using impact fees that we have on hand, roughly $1 million. If you were at the other presentation, if you read the papers, you've heard that the city has about $1 million in impact fees. We would use $1 million in impact fees to buy the apparatus and equipment for the fire station, and we would staff that fire station by having to increase a millage rate here by 0.6006. That's what it would take to build that fire station and staff it as the fire chief has proposed right now in 2016, okay? 0.6006 mil increase. Again, if you look at a $200,000 home, that's about a $48 a year increase over our current millage rate. So looking down on the bottom line, to do all these things that are in the plan now, it would take a millage rate of 3.7156 mills. Total city taxes based on that millage rate for a $200,000 home is going to be $297.25. That's an increase of $48.25 over the current taxes. So that's the current environment here. So now let's look on the right-hand side of the ledger with consolidation. Okay, and I think a lot of people have a lot of questions about this. The current operations with the county fire tax millage is 3.07. You heard that mentioned earlier today. You saw it on one of Lewis' slides. Okay, again, using the same value, that equates to $245 annually. Okay, now this is what everybody, I guess, needs to try to understand. For there not to be any impact on our city taxpayers, we are going to have to, we being the city, would have to roll back the entire 3.07 mills of our tax basis of the 3.115 for there not to be any tax increase on our residents, okay? So that leaves a millage rate in the general fund of 0.045. It's a fractional millage, but that basically becomes a wash between the consolidated environment and the current operations, the current city environment, okay? So you can see, looking at a $200,000 home, with the scenario I just described to you, the taxes would be equivalent, would be equal on a $200,000 home. Now let's look at the county's projection for their 5-year plan. You heard them say a few minutes ago they were going to stand the station up 2016. They're not proposing any tax millage increase on their side, okay? That we would obviously not have any additional changes to our millage, our rollback millage, this number here, so there's no change there. The county's proposing to use our $1 million in impact fees plus money that they have in reserve to build the new station, stand up the new station. From what their presentation says, they will also staff and equip that station with their current budget, with these current numbers that are being, the current millage rate that you see right here. So the net tax rate for the city-county folks that are in, city folks that are in the new tax digest, if you will, would be 3.115 mills, which is the same millage rate that the folks in the city are paying right now. So the total city taxes would be $249, again, the same as they're paying now. The difference between the $249 and $297 is $48.25, is that correct? I think my numbers are correct. And the number on the bottom is actually the 5-year savings to the city of Fayetteville. And what this number represents is taking out all of the operating costs to run the fire department over the next 5 years, all of the capital cost that we're having to put into and equipment and apparatus and such as that. So that's the number right there that the city would not have to spend over the next 5 years in this consolidated environment. I know there are a lot of other issues that go into this. This is one aspect of it. This is a snapshot of the finances, but I just, this is important that everybody understand, what the numbers are and the assumptions behind the numbers. So one other factor I think that Mary Parrott brought to my attention today, and we didn't include it into the numbers, but you need to know that the folks in the consolidated environment, the city folks, they would now be eligible, or some would be eligible. The ones that have it now would be the homestead tax exemption. You heard Lewis mention that earlier. Well, that's about $15 on this $200,000 home, so that's $15 off the $249 there, so it'd be less $15. So, I mean, that's really our presentation, and I want to thank Ellen and Lynn. We've spent the better part of a week trying to get our handle, on all these numbers, and we stand by those numbers, but we'll be happy to answer any questions that Mayor and Council have, or anybody in the audience about the numbers. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you both for your presentations. Couple of things that I don't think the county covered clearly was staffing levels. We're going to keep the same staff, but actually we would increase at the Station 93. The staffing would be higher than what the city projection is. Is that not correct?
I think probably the fire chief would, or Lewis would be better off answering that.
Our projection was to staff that station with 4 assigned, and I believe the city's projection was 2, but that's Chief Jones's operational decision.
Was it 2 or was it 3, Alan?
Well, I think it's important when we talk about what projections are and then what the reality will be. Our staffing will be a minimum of 2 at that station. I do have a question of how we're going to have a 4 assigned to that station with the existing staffing that we have today countywide. The only way that
new people would have to be hired if we open up a new station.
No, that's not what they proposed. They proposed that they're going to have the exact same staffing that we have today and stand up that station at Pinewood, the exact same city staffing and county staffing that exists today. The only way that they can do that is if they pull staffing from out in the county and bring it into the city.
David, is that correct, that there was not a projection to hire new staff at the county level to fill a new station? I would have assumed that the...
I don't have the slide with us that we had in the earlier presentation that showed what our staffing model was for every fire station throughout, and our projections were based on 51 persons per shift, which included...
That's countywide total, 51?
That's countywide total, and that included bringing city staff of 24 over 22 existing, and we were going to convert out of the job share group, we were going to convert 2 of those to full-time positions.
Okay.
Just to clarify on the job shares, we have basically 9 job shares, but they represent 3 full-time positions. When the consolidation becomes effective, 2 of our existing vacancies will not be filled. They will not be filled until 2016 when the new station stands up. So once this takes place, our countywide staffing from what it exists now will go down by 2, which will decrease our standard, our average service. I know it's only 2 people, and it's only percentages, but we're losing 2 positions from day one. They will refill those 2 positions, and that 51 exists, that 51 that Chief Scarborough mentioned represents our current, what we have today, between the city and the county, what we have today. And we're going to open up a new station and staff it with a higher level of staffing than we have at any other station in the county. We're going to have to move some county firefighters into the city to make that possible.
Good point. Or potentially hire some new people, assuming that the taxes start coming up and there's money.
We hire new people, the taxes go up.
Well, not necessarily raising the millage rate, but the value of the properties go up, so the net taxes will go up.
That's true, but with all due respect, the plan does not call for hiring any personnel. It blows your savings out of the water. That's why they had to do it with existing personnel.
Good point. Thank you, Alan. All right. One other thing I wanted to point out on the county's salary projections. Nobody's taking a hit on income. We've leveled out the retirement benefits. So we're doing everything we can to make everybody whole. It's a full-time employee for the city, and then we got the issue with the job shares as you were describing, but go ahead.
If you'll let me address this, I do want to thank Joe and the city staff, and I know the county worked on this. We did have some issues with our personnel that we needed to address. And they have done a good job, a great job in meeting with the employees. It took moving that meeting back to get that done, but we did meet with all the employees, as Mr. Morton said. Everyone had an opportunity to come in, voice their concerns, talk about the impact that it would have on them. The biggest thing, the biggest obstacle that they had left was the GMA retirement thing. We had that in place last time, kind of that fix, so that the people who put in, who've committed, they're going for that 25-year, that 55 goalpost. It wasn't moved 7 years out to 62, and we got that fixed today. So, I'm not saying it's 100%, but to the best degree possible, the city has tried to make a good faith effort to take care of all the issues financially to the employee. And I do thank y'all for that. They did a great job in doing that, just what I know that they asked you to do. So, that should make everyone happy, correct?
Well, as much as can be. Nobody likes change, obviously. So, but.
Well, I just want to make a point. I've heard it said that if money's the problem, you really don't have a problem. Okay? So if we took care of all the money issues, then we shouldn't have an issue, right? The employees should be happy, correct? But I don't think they're happy. So the money's not the issue. What's the issue then? What's the problem if it's not the money? I want to speak on behalf of the department because I don't want any of my individual members standing up here and possibly getting a target painted on their back. It's very difficult for me to, you know, I'm kind of in a position here where I've got my possible potential employer sitting over here, but I'm also your employee right now. And then, of course, in the back of my mind, I have my wife and my 2 kids. But I have, I talked to one of y'all one time. I said, well, what is our job? What's staff's job? My job is to give you the best information I can to help you make the best decision for the city of Fayetteville. That's my job. That's what I'm going to do tonight. I'm a city of Fayetteville employee. I'm going to represent the city of Fayetteville in your best interest so that you can make the best decision possible. Okay. Why do we still have a problem? If you look at this, if you look at the presentations that we were given across the street, the one given at the night of the public hearing, man, it looks like everything's taken care of. There's going to be opportunities and promotions and pay increases, all that was promised. So why do we still have a problem? We don't believe the brochure. We don't believe the brochure. When this came up last time, we basically got the same plan. All of the city senior staff is replaced with county staff. I'm replaced by the county fire chief. My deputy chief is replaced by the county deputy chief. My shift commanders are replaced by the county shift commanders. Our standards, our protocols, our qualifications, all replaced by the counties. That's not a merger. That's not a partnership. That's a takeover. Lewis mentioned the organizational chart, and then I had some comments about the chart. David and I had some conversations about it. 2 years ago, I had conversations about it and some of the issues with it. The employees were not happy with the organizational chart then, and the same thing was handed to us this time. There's no difference in it. I look at it as naive that we can basically take over this 12 square miles of the city of Fayetteville and act like we're just adding 10% to our area. This is a totally different animal. When we add the city to the county, it's not addition, it's not even algebra, it's calculus. I've been the fire chief for 15 years, and it would take a huge learning curve for me to determine how best to service the city of Fayetteville and the rest of Fayette County. And this plan basically says this is how we can do it. We're going to apply the county model to the city of Fayetteville. If I were in that position, this is when you have the opportunity to get back this is what I was talking to Lewis about. This is when you get back what you've lost because you can justify it. I know you can't have 2 fire chiefs, but you can have 2 deputy chiefs. You can also have 6 shift commanders. That's what you have right now, 6 shift commanders. That's what it takes. Downgrading to 3, which is already what the county has, when you've only got 3 and you've got 8 stations, your span of control is 8 to 1. Now you're talking about making it 10 to 1. Even in the county's own presentation, that's not effective. Okay? Why can't we make sure that we don't diminish our command and control supervisory scene safety people? Why are we going to diminish that? You know why? Because it blows your savings up. That's why we can't do it. This isn't the plan we need, it's the plan that we can afford based on the parameters. They knew that they had to create savings in order for this thing to fly. We had to make the employees happy and we had to create savings. As long as we can do that, let's push this through. Now, are they going to come back in 2 years and say, you know what, now this is what we need? Do you think that's going to fly? I've used this analogy before. When you go and buy a vehicle, if you want leather seats but you can't afford it, you buy cloth seats. Oh, well, we'll upgrade to leather later. You never do that. You're stuck with cloth. It's not what you want, it's not what you need, but that's what you're stuck with. Now, I know that they've said that we're going to keep the same level of service that we currently have. The problem with that is right now we are down at about our lowest level. 2 years ago, because of the Great Recession, we had to eliminate 6 of our positions. So we had to bring our costs down to be equal about with the county staffing level. That's how they can now take us over and save money. We were too expensive before. Once we cut 6 positions, now they can do it and save some money. Now look, let's talk about the county's service delivery. I want to make sure we got a lot of county people in here. I'm not talking about the employees. I'm just talking about the limitations of the system. Okay? They have got 172 square miles to cover with roughly 32 to 33 people a shift. That's an incredible amount of area that they have to cover. That's why they have the squad concept. David, I think that's the best that you can do with what you've got, is having the squads. The squad is a 2-person company, and they flex over between a fire call and an EMS call to make sure that they have enough people. It gives them more units to handle more coverage. The squad concept, though, is a compromise because they can't commit fully to one or the other. They can't commit to fire. That's why they're taking people off the engines to put on the squads. And they can't commit them to EMS because they need them on the fire. It's a compromise, and it's what they've been dealt, and I think that they do a great job doing that. If I were in their position, that's what I would have to do. But it's not adequate for the city of Fayetteville. Let me tell you a story. Before we got our SAFER grant, I thought the exact same way. I was like, look, if we ever get to our 4-person per station, I want to put 2 on this truck and 2 on this other truck. It can't be the medic truck. We all know, we've read the stats, the medic truck's always out. You can't count on those 2 people. We're talking about, well, we put 2 on this engine, 2 on the rescue. 2 on the tower, 2 on the engine. My staff hated that plan. They said, we don't agree with that, Chief. I'm like, this is what we need to do. We need to provide coverage for multiple calls. No, Chief, we don't want to do that. We finally get our SAFER grant where we have the people to do it. I said, fine, I'm going to show y'all. We're going to let you put those 4 people on the truck. We'll evaluate it, and then I'll make a change later. I never changed it. They were right. I was wrong. 4 people. Four people on the fire apparatus is what is the most effective, because I know you're going to hear, I've heard this on the news, and in fairness to Chairman Brown, a 3-second clip is not given the full context of the comments. But we've all heard we can't fight a fire without the county. That's totally inaccurate. You need 4 people. You need 4 people to initiate a fire attack. And if we have 4 people on an engine and we can get to the call in 3 to 4 minutes, we can put the fire out. We don't need the other 15 people showing up. They can go home. The county, because of their limitations, no fault of the personnel, no fault of David, because of their limitations, they trickle people in 2 at a time. And they get there, they're having to come from different stations to get there. They're at a disadvantage, and it's not their fault. So that goes back to the operational side. What we're going to do is we're going to adopt that county level of staffing for the city of Fayetteville. It's not adequate. One thing that's come up, ALS. That all of a sudden is a big important thing. It's not come up until this plan was floated. The benefits of ALS. Our medical director's here. He might have some words to explain what ALS is. But my question is, for the ALS, county ALS engines, where is the equipment funded from? Does it come out of the EMS fund or the fire fund? Which the city of Fayetteville pays into, just as much as the county residents. If the county can use our funds to outfit their engines, they can do the same for us without consolidation. There's $45,000 for paramedic training. Where's that going to be paid from? I bet I know. We're going to pay for that. It's just going to a different bucket. Now, one other thing I'd like to say on the presentation. I disagree with showing it, to making it appear like there's a shortfall in funding the city's fire department. I believe we have funds that cover our expenditures. It's not a shortfall. We're not having to raise taxes. We're not here to tell you we need a tax increase today. What Joe presented was for you to keep the existing fund balance you've got, which is, I think, the best that we've ever had, and to not touch it. That's what it would take. And Joe, if I'm not mistaken, that 5-year plan, that tax increase, doesn't just fund the fire department. Doesn't that fund growth citywide, including the hiring of police officers?
No, this millage rate here, Chief, is strictly for the fire operation and fire capital.
Okay.
Yeah, but it does maintain the millage, and that was one of our goals from the council, was to maintain that unassigned millage rate.
Okay.
What about not the millage rate, but the fund balance?
The fund balance. Yeah.
Okay. What about the one where we're going broke in 5 years? That one includes the hiring of police officers.
That one includes everything.
Thank you. One of the things, in full, so that everyone knows in here, I just want to make sure right now we're just having a discussion about whether or not we keep our own services. You know, that's kind of a city issue. Should we keep our own services? I know David's put a lot of work into this plan. The county plan to make this, it was asked for by our personnel eventually, at the retreat. How it started, I don't remember. But as far as this should be a decision that's strictly between you and your citizens. But I do think I need to ask, because we had some changes to automatic aid. About a month after the last consolidation didn't go through, it was brought up at our city retreat. There were some concerns about changes to a system that we'd had in place for 15 years. I've read a lot about jurisdictional boundaries here lately. The ink is still wet on the jurisdictional boundaries, because we eliminated those in 1998, and they've been scrambling around to redraw them since 2013 to bring us to where we are here today. We had an automatic aid system where we had no jurisdictional boundaries. We could respond our people into the county and assist our county brothers and sisters. They responded into the city of Fayetteville to assist us. There was no gap. We brought together in the middle so that nothing fell through. Why has that changed? We can see the stats. Aid to the county has been cut in half. We are sitting in the station having fire trucks drive 3 miles to get past our station to go to a call that we could be to in 2 minutes. The response times are going up to 7. Why? And we maintain that system through the 5 worst years. If it's an economic issue, why wasn't that picked up on before? It didn't become an economic issue or an operational issue until consolidation didn't go through in 2012. And in David's defense, he didn't start it, but it got implemented with David. But it didn't start with David. It's just an awful big coincidence. So, is there going to be any consequence that the citizens of Fayetteville need to be aware of if we don't do it this time? I've already read about automatic aid in the paper. That is not going to be good for any resident of Fayette County, city or county. It's not going to be good for any of my city firefighters. It's not going to be any good for my county brothers and sisters. They had a person step up. They only had one person at the public meeting step up from the county fire service. She said, "We need each other." I agree 100%. We cannot do without each other. Automatic aid is the way that you borrow something from your neighbor, but you don't have to buy it, because we can't afford to buy all the same stuff. It's the best thing for our citizens, and it's the best thing for the safety of these people who are putting their lives on the line for us and our citizens every single day. I didn't believe in four-person engine companies until I saw it in action. I saw it for 5 years. I know now what the right thing to do. I've seen automatic aid happen for 15 years. I've seen it in action. It works. I don't care if we got 16 people in the city of Fayetteville. Automatic aid should always be first and foremost non-political issue. Take it off the table now, please. I have a suggestion. If it's really an economic issue, let's go back to the way that it should be done. The closest unit responds. Can anyone argue about that? Can we agree the closest unit should respond to an emergency? Period. And let's evaluate it. Let's come up with a system we can agree upon. Let's keep up with the numbers, because right now the county disagrees with the numbers. I don't know if they have their own numbers, but they just say ours are wrong. Let's come up with a system that we both agree on. Let's keep up with it and see what kind of financial impact it is. I think the city, I would recommend, if we have to write a check of $40,000 or $50,000 to the county or vice versa, it's much better than us paying millions of dollars to hire all the firefighters that we need only 2% of the time. Sharing resources is going to help our services and the county services be the best they can be. Automatic aid was figured in the county's ISO evaluation in 2011. And now that's on the table. When we have our evaluation in October of this year, they got credit for us, but now all of a sudden we may not get that credit for them. That stinks. Do you have any other questions?
I'm sure more will occur during the course of the evening, but David, would you like to respond to any of the points that Alex raised, or Chairman Brown? Either of you guys?
Well, I'm not going to be able to stand here and be quite as passionate as Chief Jones. I think we've...
Fine. Let's maintain decorum, please.
As I was saying, I think we've given you information, provided you answers to the questions that you asked. I don't think it's going to be appropriate at this time for me to try to debate Chief Jones. So I'll defer my time to questions that you may have later, if there are specifics.
David, they're going to decide no other time to do it. They're doing it.
I understand that.
I'm sorry. I did ask a question, though. I don't know if I got a response. Is there anything else that we need to be concerned about if we don't do this tonight? The citizens need to understand any and all the ramifications. They understand that there may be a tax increase, I guess. Y'all can debate that later. We don't know that they want to maintain the exact fund balance that we've got. I mean, we got $2 million.
I'm sure those details will be worked out in the budget process.
Sure. But is there anything else we need to be concerned about?
Just a comment that I would have, very eloquent statement, by the way. I would have expected our city staff to have presented any questions and comments like this about a month ago when it was originally presented by the county, and we didn't hear anything back. I didn't hear anything.
I sent an email about, well, I had about 2 hours to respond to the presentation. I saw the presentation 3 weeks ago tomorrow. And I had to respond in just a few hours because the county was going to go live with it at their retreat the very next day. And I saw it at the same time my boss saw it. I saw it at the same time our finance people saw it. So we certainly haven't had a month to respond to this. In fact, Staff has been in full-blown, wide-open mode trying to, like I said, catch all the pieces to this once it fell apart the first night.
Thank you, Alan. Chairman Brown?
If I could, we have our Human Resources Director.
Coming up to the microphone for
We have our
recording.
Human Resources Director here, we have our Finance Director, and we have the Fire Chief and the Deputy Fire Chief. And what, if you would allow me to make a suggestion, depending on...
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Brown has the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. If
Give
you
him
would...
courtesy.
Excuse me.
This is, I'm sure there are many people in there.
I have a question. The first chief said that the proposals did not really benefit the county and the debt did not really benefit the city. My question is, who does it benefit? Is this a total political thing? Who does it benefit?
We'll deal with that in public comment, ma'am.
Yeah.
Please wait your turn.
Thank you, Mr.
Go
Mayor.
ahead with your comments. sir.
If I may, I'd like to offer a...
I'll not recognize you. Mr. Brown has the floor.
After the comments Mr. Brown made on TV about the Fayetteville Fire Department, go ahead and do that. But after the comments he made,
You're out of order. Please sit down.
sir, you're out. You're out.
Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. We will get to all these things in due time. Mr. Brown, go ahead, please.
Thank you. Just a reminder that everyone in the city of Fayetteville is one of my constituents, just to bring that back up to date, yes. They are Fayette County residents. But that being said, I would suggest that after you have public comments, if you all want to collect questions or any concerns that you have from the public comments, my staff and myself would be glad to answer and respond to any of those at the end of the questioning, the comment period. So we are readily available, and I would just suggest, instead of us having a one-on-one debate where we come and answer after every question, if you want to just go ahead and write some questions and collect your concerns, and we'd be glad to respond to that list at the end of this meeting.
Thank you. That sounds very reasonable. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, you are scheduled to vote on this tonight. You don't have time to give questions back to the county. You need to make a vote.
Take your seat. You're out of order.
I am not out of order.
You are out of order. You're not recognized to speak. Take your seat, please.
Mr. Brown, if you say one more word to me.
Hey, both of you, put the lid on it. I don't want to have to eject anybody, but if it comes to that, we will. All right, now, we've heard the presentation from the county. We've heard the presentation from the city. We've heard a very passionate presentation by our fire chief. We will now open for public comment, but before we do, I want to remind you that we are discussing issues that deal with people's lives and their livelihoods. Refrain from name-calling, refrain from personal aspersions. Let's try to present factual information that will, in fact, enlighten the conversation. I need a list of speakers, people who have signed up, please. And if there is a sign-up sheet in the back, if anybody hadn't signed up. And one other thing before we open it up to public comment, is it the will of the council to let everyone have their say individually rather than having a representative speak?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, as long as we
That's the will of the
articulate
council?
conditions that they do not repeat the same thing that a previous speaker made.
Well, that's what I'd ask for. So, and the time frame, because we do have such a crowd, will be limited. I think you can cover your important topics, except maybe Mr. Woodson. It may take him a bit more than 3 minutes, but most people
Woodward.
Sorry, Woody.
Woody will be fine, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. And
Just let me know when you're ready.
we don't have them in any particular order, do we? Okay.
Top page.
All right. Top page first, okay. Then you have the floor,
Okay.
sir.
For those of you that don't know me, just call me Woody. It works. I've answered to much worse. I will skip my introduction, if that's okay with you. If you have any questions about transparency, please feel free to pose them at any time, Mr. Mayor. With regards to the command staff, I have some serious concerns that I have expressed with every one of you individually, except Mr. Williams, who could not find time to meet with me. Some of my concerns come from the fact that you're talking about adding their calls to our calls. As Chief Jones indicated, this is not just a mere adding 12 square more miles. Because I've already explained to you, and I'm sure Chairman Brown, being the expert on fire protection he is, you want to go back over the building construction for us?
Woody, I said refrain from casting personal aspersions. This is not about personalities. Present your facts,
I meant no
please.
harm. I
And
apologize.
You may not have meant, but your attitude is not favorable, sir. So please.
He did inform me that he was interested in this, learning about building
stick
construction.
with the facts, sir.
You're talking about increasing your call volume by 66%. Total call volume, EMS, fire, everything, by 66%. Yet, along the same time, I want to reiterate some of Chief Jones' comments. You want to take... Is this working? Don't worry about it. I'll talk loud enough anyway. You want to take a fire chief...
Woody, we need
15 years
Woody,
proven
please
track
stay at the
record.
podium where we can get this recorded, okay?
15-year proven track record. Okay? And you want to put this in the hands of a fire chief with 1 year. Nothing against Chief Scarborough, but let me tell you, some of you admitted to me when we met, it was in private, Larry, you admitted to me when we met that when you take a new promotion or a new position, it takes 3 to 4 years to get used to where you're experienced, to get to where you know what works and what doesn't. Do you know why Chief Jones changed his mind about those staffing levels? It wasn't because Woody consulted him on it. It's called leadership. Leadership is what America's looking for. So let's talk about Chief Partridge a minute. Chief Partridge has a wonderful opportunity presented in this plan. All she has to do is take a demotion of 3 ranks, 2 depending on whose rank structure you go by. She takes that demotion and she has the opportunity to now promote in a somewhat larger organization. That's not an opportunity, that's a slap in the face. What if I said to you, these people, I think, do y'all want leadership?
Yeah.
How about this? Let's lead by example. That's true leadership. Let's step down off of that board. Now you got the opportunity to run for state representative, governor, maybe president. Some of you may be in line for Nancy Pelosi's spot. I'm sorry, that is not an opportunity. This is a woman that has a 15-year proven track record. When she wrote that SAFER grant, what most of you don't realize, because she would never brag on herself, so I'll do it for her. That was the second, proportionally, that was the second highest SAFER grant in the United States of America. Take a bow, Chief. Take a bow. As you well know, Mr. Mayor, there are fire departments that I'm associated with that are not represented here tonight. It's called the Atlanta Fire Rescue Department, and I happen to know they placed a whole staff working on that. And that whole staff couldn't beat her. Sure, he had to help sign off on it. That's a proven track record. Now you want to take a battalion, which what does a battalion do? First one, that's your initial incident commander. They set the strategy and drive the tactics. Second one, they become a safety officer. It's a system of checks and balances. So if I'm telling Ed Johnson, hey, we're going to crawl in that window with no water and burn up, somebody's got to stand there and say, no, that's not a good strategy. That tactic won't work. But you want to take and cut it in half. You want to increase the call volume 66%, and decrease the command staff by 50%. I don't understand that. The only thing I would take exception to that Chief Jones said is when I see that new station come on online, that's a span of control of 11 to 1. I defy any of you who have studied this profession, either as long as I have or in less time, I defy you to find a leadership or fire service management book that says that is safe and effective. How can you, in good conscience, tell these people, who, by the way, are registered voters, how can you, in good conscience, tell them that is an increase in service? It is not. The only way you're going to get it, they used to have a fire chief, an assistant chief, and 2 deputy chiefs. They're going to have to increase taxes to get back to it. If they want to bring the battalion back online, they got to raise the taxes to do it. He already told you they're going to reallocate the existing staffing. Where are they going to pull it from? They're going to pull it from me. They're going to pull it from Brooks. I know it, they know it, and y'all know it. Now, we've already talked about the assigned staffing. I've gone over the efficiency numbers of engine companies versus 4-person versus 2-person staffing. I don't think for me to reiterate that's going to help here tonight. If you haven't gotten the point by now, you just aren't going to. That's the bottom line. So when we start boiling this all down, we need to look at Chief Scarborough. How many people, line personnel, does the EMS tax support? That counts admin. Would it be 39 line and 4 admin? Okay. We'll go with that. Why don't you count those line personnel for the city of Fayetteville? If these people are paying for them, why can't they use them? I don't understand that. Those numbers they're showing you aren't apples to apples. That's apples and oranges. You know what that is? That's a larger scale where Chief Jones showed you that what they're doing is they're taking the money and spending it all on them. I'm just showing you another example where it's even larger. As for the automatic aid, it's interesting that nobody knows. After I spent 4 emails last week, 4 emails to every one of you. Every one of you saw them. And nobody can answer the question, why did it happen? Tell me this, what is the response matrix tonight? If we call an alarm to this building, what's coming? These people deserve to know. Now, I'm not going to bore you too much more because I'm sure there's others that want to get up here. I will be available to answer questions. I can tell you that there shouldn't be any ISO questions. I know for a fact y'all have already called ISO, and I know what they told you. They told you the same thing I told you. The only way you're going to find out is to go through the process. There is no other way. The other thing I would bet a $20 bill on that they told you is the only way to fix divergence is spend money. You're not going to reallocate resources and fix their divergence problem. It will not happen. Do you know why they don't come up here and argue with me on that? Because I'm speaking fact. And fact is the hardest thing to rebut. You can't do it. So ultimately, I have one question. My question isn't for you. My question is for you people. Fire protection, I said in my first presentation, some of you came up and talked to me about my first presentation. And I said in that presentation, I defy anyone to challenge me on this, fire protection comes down to one question. What is the community willing to pay for? So my question is, do you people want this proven leadership Do you want that significant command and management experience running your fire department?
Yes.
Chief Jones, Chief Partridge, men and women of the the Fayetteville Fire Department, I consider it an honor to stand here with you tonight. God bless you.
All right, next up we got Carolyn Carey.
My name is Carolyn Carey. I live at 180 Emily Park. I've lived in the city of Fayetteville for 50 years. I'm 81 years old, and if there's one thing I've learned, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And gentlemen, the Fayetteville Fire Department ain't broke. Thank you.
Brian Carden, or is that Ryan?
It's Brian.
Brian?
My name is Brian Carden. I do live in the city of Fayetteville and just happen to be a part-time employee with the city of Fayetteville Fire Department. I work full-time with the city of Atlanta. Not a very good public speaker, so I'll try my best. A couple of things I want to ask is the buildings, the equipment, fire trucks, what happens to those? This is where you answer.
They stay pretty much exactly where they are. The buildings obviously are not moving.
I know they're not going to move. Does the county buy them? Everything?
No, they don't buy them, no.
So are we giving it to them?
As far as I understand, that they do not buy them, yes.
We're receiving no payments for assets that are in the city. I need clarification on that.
When you have your time to speak, ma'am, you can speak about that. But
okay, so the fire stations, fire trucks, SCBA's, turnout gear will all be given to the county.
That would be my understanding, yes.
Okay. All right.
We certainly wouldn't want to retain it to the city that had no fire department. If the county was running the fire department, it wouldn't do us any good, would it?
Can you not sell it to them?
We could discuss that as a possibility, certainly.
I mean, I take it that will change your numbers and everything, but, you know, I would figure stuff that I own, you know, most of the time I don't just give it away when it's that expensive.
That's certainly
if it's
question
such,
we can discuss with them, yes.
Right. If it, you know, we talk about money issues with city employees going over to the county, and like it was said before, it's the money's been worked out. They want to be city of Fayetteville firefighters. If the grass is so green over there, why have they not gone over there before now? The only reason that grass is greener over there is because it's fertilized with crap. Right? Last time this happened, I believe it was you and it was Mayor and Mr. Otto that said that they did not receive one email or phone call supporting this. 2 years ago, there was no support for this. Correct?
You
don't remember 2 years ago?
I don't recall what Mr. Otto said. But certainly it was overwhelmingly opposed.
Okay, so why is this coming up again? We understand politicians are going to lie to us as citizens. We've pretty much gathered that. So do us a favor. Do us a big favor. Surprise us. Surprise us to the point we're probably going to need medical aid from these guys. Tell us the truth. Tell us the truth why you're wanting this done. It's not to save money. It's not going to save that. If you have to...
Time.
No, I'm sorry. But if you have to, raise my taxes to keep my fire department. Thank you.
You do live in the city, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. Butch Harrison, next.
Mr. Otto did not answer this gentleman's question.
He addressed the question to me, I believe.
No, there were very few people that actually made positive comments about the consolidation. However, 2 years later, which is now, there is an opportunity to save some money, save a lot of money actually, and keep the same quality of service, in my opinion. You asked me, and I'm telling you why it came out.
To answer more than just the question asked. Butch?
Mr. Mayor, council members, citizens. I heard a lot of things. We trust you to make good decisions. Those are not always the most popular of things. I, for one, heard that we were talking about apples and oranges. I spent my life in the produce business. I'm not a fireman. But I can tell you that an apple and an orange are both classified as fruit. The apple takes a lot more care, and it can be more expensive than the orange because it is so tender. It has to be packed and transported differently. And in that, I'm an apple. I'm getting older. If I have a problem that dictates that I have to have advanced life support, I heard that fire trucks go by some stations from the county, and the city could have been faster to respond. A lot of times, it's about who needs advanced life support. And the county has got paramedics. They can put you on an EKG. They can have you electronically in the hospital before you get there. They can give you IVs. They can give you medications. They're not just going to put you on a body board and take you there. Nothing against the city. I live in this city. If we were just talking about a fire-only issue, then I don't think we would be having this conversation tonight. Money is not a real issue unless it's going to take something out of someone's pocket. In that, I've heard that there have been solutions to those problems. So the real problem is, do you as citizens want to get transported as an apple or an orange? Do you want the care that it takes to get you there and to keep you here? That's what I want. And I trust y'all to make the decision that's good for the county and the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Betty McKibben.
Can I address the qualifications of our staff?
This is the medical director.
I'm the medical director for City of Fayetteville Fire. May I address?
Yeah, you may.
I am, by background, emergency medicine trained at Emory University, nearly 20 years in the field, both in the emergency department and pre-hospital. These guys out here, I've worked with them in my hospitals. They are all highly qualified. According to the state, it requires an ALS, advanced life support, personnel to be trained above the level of an emergency medical technician. All these guys are above that. It's not simply putting somebody on a backboard. It is so much more than what these guys do. I review every chart where they go to a patient in need. And let me tell you, talking about ambulances passing by, the one thing that these guys get in their job when they respond to somebody that is in true need is when they walk in the door and that sense of relief that someone, a family member, watching their husband laying there on the ground. When those first guys get there, that sense of relief gives us all that energy to go through that call and do what we need to do. These guys get there. And not only do they stabilize the patient, they start IVs. They have so much more in their armamentarium than what was alluded to.
You're saying the city staff starts IVs?
Yes. Do you not know this? Yes. We've got paramedics on our engines. We're going to double or triple our paramedic staff within the next 6 months. These guys are going out and getting it on their own. They're not costing you anything. I don't think you know what you have here, obviously. That's sad. That's sad. I fully support these guys. And what they bring to the table, to the citizens of Fayetteville, is far more than some far-stretched area of the county can bring. The calls that are in this county are concentrated in this city. These guys are taking the majority, and they're hitting it. They're doing a great service. And for now, Fayetteville is coming in to transport these patients.
Fayette County.
Fayette County is transporting these patients. We could, there's opportunities there. There's a lot of opportunities there to get patients stabilized into the hospital. I think they work great together. And just as an outside person, I've, had a little bit of education. And this is looking at the presentation, they see a service that supposedly is short in their budget. And I'm a buyer. So it doesn't make sense to me that, why does the county want this? If they want to buy something that's already losing money, they're going to pay more than what they're already making, so there's more expenditure there. They're going to expand staff, which is more expenditure there, and they're going to do it for the same amount of money. The math doesn't add up to me, and that's just looking at it from an outside person. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right, Betty.
My support is
Betty McKibben.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Betty McKibben. I'm a homeowner in Fayetteville City. Been around the county for 35 years or better. I consider it quite a privilege to be able to stand here tonight. My presentation, if you want to call it that, will be very short. I think that we should give our city and our people here, our citizens, credit for being able to read and to hear and understand a lot of the things that we've heard the last couple of weeks about this consolidation. I give them credit. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure they have too. And we've learned a lot tonight. No disrespect to you. I'm afraid you're a little bit too quick on that gavel tonight, considering the fact that this is an open meeting and we are to be able to have a say if we so please.
Everybody will have the opportunity for that, but not interrupting other people.
I just want to say tonight that the men and the women of the Fayetteville City Fire Department are the finest that you will find. They're devoted, and they're bound to their jobs with their hearts and with their honor. And I hope that tonight you will treat them with the respect that they so deserve. I hope that you will vote no to this consolidation of the county and the city. And bear in mind, the tone has been set tonight. And I think you all understand that, and so do our citizens. Thank you.
Janice Summers.
Hi, I'm Janice Summers. I'm a longtime citizen of the city of Fayetteville. Several of you know me. This is not my first time up here. I've been up here many times, and I hope to be up here again. My statement will be very brief. I'm not here to debate anyone. I'm here to support these firefighters. I respectfully voice my opinion as a Fayetteville citizen. Some of you, I think you should allow the city of Fayetteville citizens to vote on this. It shouldn't be a political decision. It should be a citizen's decision. And if you don't want that, at least let these firemen vote. They deserve a vote. It's their career, their families, their life. I am totally against this consolidation. I've done my homework. I've talked to several firefighters, and I stand here today for the firefighters of the city of Fayetteville. Thank you.
Stephen Fuller.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you all. This is my first council meeting. I'm not much of a political person, but I am here because I feel very strongly about what's going on with our fire department. I moved to Fayetteville 34 years ago and began a traveling job. I felt very, very confident my family was safe and well protected by the Fayetteville Fire Department and the Fayetteville Police Department and the emergency service provided by Fayetteville. I have seen that do nothing but get better and better and better. And I've seen the response even in my own neighborhood, even my neighbors next door. A gentleman fell 30 feet out of a tree. Serious, serious injuries. These gentlemen were there quickly with sufficient staff and performed extremely professional. Now, how can I evaluate that? I was an EMT. I was a captain on the fire department. I have taught fire science technology classes at Marshall University. I know what fire ground operations are. And I know that these guys here, I have seen them perform in an extremely professional manner. I would ask that the people that elected you all, that you listen to them, that it not just be a group here. I was very disappointed, and no disrespect to the first two speakers, in that all they talked about was taxes and this and that and meal rates and this and that. That's not really what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about if something happens to one of my children, one of my grandchildren, my wife. I'm sure these people here are concerned the same way. And I've heard very little talk about the safety and the well-being of our families and the protection of our properties. Guys, that's what it's about. I also am aware, as the chief was talking about response levels. And some of these people may not be aware, but as a captain of the fire department, I never took a truck out of the station without 4 people on it. And maybe to educate you a little bit, the reason for that is if you've got to catch a hydrant, one of those firemen has got to catch that hydrant. One person has got to operate the pump who is also the truck driver. If you don't have 2 people to take that hose and go into that house to help put that fire out and possibly rescue somebody's child, somebody's husband, somebody's wife, or an entire family, then how are they going to even do that? How are they even going to do that? I'm not going to assume that you guys are going to vote in favor of this. I'm going to assume that you're going to vote against it. The reason I'm going to assume that because I know that you all are also husbands, fathers, and so forth. And I'm just going to hope and pray that you do the right thing. Thank you.
Larry Dale. Larry, you're up.
Who'd you call?
You. Oh. Larry Dale.
Couldn't hear you.
Yeah, it's a lot of applause. Kind of hard to hear sometimes.
First of all, let me apologize.
One second. Can everybody hear me in the back? Is the microphone okay? Do I need to get closer? Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Can we turn it down a little bit?
We've turned it down as far as it'll go. I'm sorry. There's just so many people.
We should have chilled the room earlier. Okay.
You taking up my time or not?
All right,
I think some of the people yield some time back to me. So, first of all, let me apologize for the outburst I had earlier. Most of you know that I'm passionate about this issue. I'm passionate about what goes on with the city. I'm very passionate about what happens in the city. I know there's a lot of people that have called you. There's a lot of people that have emailed. We've had one individual, though, that told the individual, don't call me anymore, you're harassing me. Another one said, don't call me or wouldn't call back. You're elected to represent these people. I expect you to speak to me. I spoke to people for 25 years. I listened to everybody, pro or con. What we're going through here is very emotional.
It is.
You've got the facts. The facts have been put before you by some that you didn't want to hear. And basically their job is probably on the line right now. But let's go back to a few more little facts. I've known these two ladies here for over 25 years. I know they got a little black magic if they need it. You ask them for something, they're going to give you that something. Mr. Morton's a master with the budget. You give him a point, he's going to hit that point. But when you look at the fact that you're going to reduce the millage, and you say now that we don't have the money because of the fire department to fund officers for the police department, to fund equipment for the fire department without going up on taxes, and you reduce the millage to 0.45, where's the money going to come from? You're at the same thing you were with the 3.07. You're not any different. And if you can't see that, someone needs to step down from up there and go home and turn in their resignation right now.
Except that we're spending more.
Listen, excuse me, I do have the floor. I do have the floor. So you had some more time than mine, okay. But that's a fact. If you look at it, it's plain as day. If you reduce the millage 3.07 down to 4.5, you haven't increased the money coming in. Now, what's not factored in all of this, because I've listened to their presentation for, like I say, for 25 years. I know what they present. They will say the worst case scenario. We'll take a very conservative estimate of 5% or 3% on growth. Gentlemen, we have growth coming at a phenomenal rate right now. That means impact fees, that means service fees, it means development fees, water fees, impact fees, everything. Plans, to review plans out there. That's coming. We've got on the agenda coming up, the apartment complex over here, the high-end apartment. You've got the seaside development out there, which is 0 lot lines. Those houses sell for a minimum $300,000. If they got the water, if they bring the beach, they'll sell for a little bit more. But we've not factored in any of that. There hasn't been a thing factored in that I have seen on growth. Everything is worst case scenario if we don't grow. Mr. Otto, you're a CPA. And that should be very obvious. If it's not factored in to revenue, then how are you going to project? These ladies have given us 5-year projections all the time. Every year there's a 5-year projection. That projection changes the next year because of changing conditions. They've changed dramatically from what we started because of the recession. So when you look at what's coming in, money-wise, you can probably build that station next year if you want to. and you keep your $1 million or you put the $1 million in there. There's all kind of financing that's there. And believe me, the fire department and this lady right here will search every grant possible to find every penny that's there. So when you've got to look at that, I said some people may have used some time.
It's 4.5 minutes already.
Well, okay. But consider the facts. Consider what the facts are there. You give her some figures, she'll take her a little dust and she'll put on it. And you'll see what's there. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Feldman. Next up is Keith Harris. If we can go ahead and start queuing up, maybe that'll save a little bit of time.
Okay, my name is Alan Feldman. Most of you gentlemen know me, some don't. I live on Jeff Davis, and I have a particular interest in the fire department. My house was built 150 years ago, and it's all lighter wood. So,
Heart fine, yeah.
These guys, I can sleep at night. I've had experiences with them, and like I say, I think you've heard everything about what a top-notch organization we have. Nobody is disagreeing with that.
That's right.
My problem is that the county government has been after our sewer system, our fire department. In all the years I've been here, paid taxes to both county and city. And the county has got some nice soccer fields, and they've spent a lot of money on recreation. And I've put my input when they ask for what do you think we should spend money on. And they've done a wonderful job. And unfortunately, there isn't that much money to build everything. The city of Fayetteville, on the other hand, we don't have any soccer fields, but we do have spent a lot of money on our fire system. When I first came here, we had an old truck, and it had 2 batteries in the fire truck. These guys were changing 1 battery because they didn't have the money for 2. I mean, it's like a flashlight that goes out, you put 1 battery in, and it'll work a little bit. But your dad, Mr. Clifton, was in on the initial start of this, rebuilding this fire department. And it's gone down through all the different councilmen throughout the years. And right now, we have one of the highest rated fire departments in the county. Now, as far as all these projections and numbers and everything, you know, hey, I can't even convert metric to SAE system without problems. But I do know one thing, that if these people have done the job that they have, there's one factor that nobody's mentioned tonight, and that's morality, morals. You don't take somebody that's worked their tails off for all these years working on a system, and they have it where there isn't any place in this city that you can get into a problem and not have the comfort of knowing that in a very short time they're going to be there. And then the other thing is the fact that we have a stable city government. If you look out in the county, in Peachtree City, it's like a circus. You know, you read the Citizen and the Daily News, you know, what's on today? You know, they get everything but a little band going along with it. I don't want that controlling our fire department. And it is ours because we paid for it. And these people deserve the stability and the loyalty of our elected officials and citizens as much as we deserve their loyalty and stability. The last time I saw a takeover, I've only got one more comment. The last time I saw a takeover like this, it was Frank Lorenzo and Eastern Airlines, and he was going to make everything wonderful. So, you gentlemen, I don't know about the facts and figures, but I just hope you'll take this into consideration. There's more than the millage and this and that money. This is something that is essential to living in this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Years ago, your predecessor saw the need to have a fire department. Our fire department was started in 1940. That's the earliest record we can find. That's 74 years. This was made up by people of career and volunteer personnel with blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of hard work. The city slogan is a history with a future. Tonight, you're going to be voting on our future as firefighters for the City of Fayetteville Fire Department. This also will greatly affect the other citizens in the future of the city of Fayetteville in other ways that you may have not thought about. First, let's look at our current city employees. If you can consolidate the fire department and take a third of their employees away from the city, approximately, are they going to be next? That's what they're thinking. Is their future uncertain? That's what they're thinking. So now it not only greatly affects the fire department, it affects other city employees. Second, it will affect our future employees. If you take our fire department and cut it, now people look at the city as being weak and unstable. So all you're going to get is the so-so applicants. You're not getting the qualified, the best of the best that we need here. So you're not going to get the qualified applicants for our police department, for our city hall employees. The third is going to be your purchasing power on insurance and other things that it takes with numbers. So it can actually have a financial input too on reducing some of that stuff. Please listen to your citizens. Vote no to consolidation. Let the City of Fayetteville and its fire department have a 75th anniversary with pride next year.
I'm Orlando Castro, 215 Keaton Drive, City of Fayetteville. For full disclosure and records, I just want to say that I'm a volunteer and the team leader of the Fayetteville Auxiliary Force under the Fayetteville Police Department. I'm here as a citizen, not as an auxiliary force member. I have very high respect for those who serve in public service in our city. We all know the men and women in the Fayetteville Fire and Police Department have been doing a superb job for many years, and they have made a lot of sacrifices for this community. Let us not forget that for one single second. I understand your concerns about expenditures and trying not to raise taxes. However, remember that you were elected by the citizens of Fayetteville to represent us. I realize that taxes may have to be raised if the consolidation does not occur. Let me say one thing. I have always been opposed to government raising taxes. But like all rules in the world, there's one exception, and I have mine. My exception is that I believe in raising taxes for public safety purposes only, as long as the money is well managed by government and it serves the purpose of those serving in public safety. I am sure that most of the fellow citizens will agree with me that public safety should be first on the list and not second to budget matters. Money can be recovered, lives cannot. Please understand that the citizens of Fayetteville do not want the fire department consolidation. Please vote against the consolidation. Then, through proper management, without sacrificing the men and women in public safety, do whatever it takes to maintain their existence. We cannot afford to lose them. Thank you.
Let me just say thank you, Orlando, for your service in the police auxiliary and being a leader in that, and that is a tremendous asset to the city. We very much appreciate your service there. The next name has no last name. It's Angela or Angelo, perhaps. And then after that is Carl Shipman, I'm not sure, S-C-H.
Shipman.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, I'm Angela. I moved to Fayetteville about 3 or 4 years ago. I love it. I consider it my home. But I don't know. Okay, everybody knows that the county is known for EMS and the city is known for fire. Okay, that's like a unsaid rule. But what worries me about this consolidation is that the county, their own people, are saying that they will let the structures burn to the ground instead of fighting the fire. Like they're scared to go in there or something. I don't know. But there are structures all over that the county just let burn to the ground. I don't know if they're scared, understaffed, don't care. That is somebody's home. That is somebody's memories. Those are family members that are dying. And their own people are saying that they would rather let it burn to the ground. That includes your home too, not just ours. That's everybody up here and everybody back here. This consolidation has been talked about in backroom meetings and in the shadows. That's not right, because you all work for us. We pay your salaries. So this consolidation and how it's being manufactured and come up with, it's not right. That's why it's not going to happen. And when your own people are letting structures burn to the ground and they want to take over, and now they're trying to go over Peachtree City, and Peachtree City said no, who's next? Who are they going to take money from next? Because it's all about revenue. It's not about personnel. It's not about the families. It's not about nothing. It's about money and politics, and that's it. Who's next? Who are they going to try to consolidate next? That's all I got to say.
It's my understanding that there's been no discussion of consolidation between the county and Peachtree City. So I don't think that's really on the table. And I really cannot believe that any professional firefighter for the county or the city would allow a structure to burn to the ground if it was at all safe for them to make any attempt to prevent that. I dispute what you said, ma'am. Next up was Carl Shipman.
Good evening. I've been a long-time resident of the county and the city. And as I said at the other meeting, I own property both in the county and the city, and I own a business in the city. So I've been very active in the fire service for 40-some plus years, and I know what we're going through. I know what financial situations a lot of cities are going through. My biggest question is, will these people in this room and the rest of the city residents and taxpayers, including me with multiple properties here, be willing to pay 13 cents a day to keep our fire department? And I looked at your list before it came off the podium over there, signing up and for or against it if you wanted to speak. And I think there was only one or maybe two people that wanted to speak for consolidation. So I'm assuming all the rest of you people in the room, whether you wanted to speak or not, are probably here because you want our council to do the right thing and not go forward with this consolidation plan. I am for the City of Fayetteville Fire Department, but mostly I'm for all firefighters that have dealings in this city. I've been on both departments. I came here when it was all volunteer. I know just exactly where the city's going. It's not going downhill, it's going uphill. And if the city is worried about going broke, then they better get in line with about 300 or 400 other cities that are in far worse shape than we are. This is a bedroom community for the city of Atlanta, an affluent community. And while not everybody lives in Fayetteville is affluent, they definitely want affluent services. Thank you very much.
Larry Shoemaker next, and then Charles Stanley. Larry?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to defer my time to, I can't add anything further.
Okay, you don't want to speak later. You just want to go ahead and defer? Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Charles?
I'm going to get real emotional on this one. My speaking is getting better. My name is Charles Stanley, 160 Orchard View. I was born in a house, old house in Red Run Road. My mother couldn't afford a midwife. My mother, my wife, grandmother, great-grandmother birthed me. Now we're married now. I've been living in the city of Fayetteville 30 years here. Worked for the city myself, 30 years here. I retired because I had a stroke 2 years ago. I worked for the city and I worked for the city, for public. I was here for y'all. I didn't work because of money. I had to help people. I'm talking to the city council because y'all, I was in hospital for 4 weeks. ICU 3 days. I didn't do nothing. Y'all came there. Y'all, a lot of people came here. Helped me in the hospital. I can't speak at all. All my speaking totally left me. Everything I learned in public works, I lost everything. My ability to speak, comprehend anything. But I knew that when I worked for the city, I worked for the city. I did everything to help people. I had a letter. God gave me a letter. But ICU came from ICU to the hospital bed. God gave me something. I'm gonna read this little letter to the department, fire department, because God gave it to me. One night, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna give it to you because I thank God we're supposed to stick together. 30 years we step together all the time. We hear everything. So not knocking the county at all, because I know all them people. I worked them a long time. The county, I worked y'all too, all time, always. I'm gonna write this letter to y'all, to Alan, Linda, all the fire department, city department. I won't forget. Purpose in life. Quitting is not an option. But God did for me. He brought me back for a reason. 2 Chronicles 20:15. Be not afraid, nor dismayed by the reason of this multitude, but the battle not yours, is God. God, with all my heart, I love Him. For everything He did in my life, He gave me the ability to come back. Only God can do that. On February 20th, 2012, when life throws you a curveball, I never give up. I never thought it would happen to me, but it did. Ability to walk, read, write, speak, comprehend was all gone. Now I could understand anything. I could not comprehend nothing. I can look at TV, I couldn't see nothing. I couldn't say nothing, talk nothing. What I was understanding nothing. I was fearful. It was hard. But God, and I see you. He said, I will never leave you, forsake you. I'll always be with you. Part 2 of this letter. To the angel of the Lord who camped around me. To Alan Jones, Linda, City Fire Department. Where life, strange tricks, comes, turns in your life. Storms, where things seem worth, no hope. God sent his angels on time. I won't forget the love, care. The angels taught me, don't give up, don't quit. They taught me to hope, work hard, stamp out fear, create out goals. I can do all things through Christ strengthen me. Quitting is not an option. Don't quit, give up on the citizen of Fayetteville. Now I will volunteer at the hospital now to help people come back. My wife, both of us, go to the hospital in Central Regional. Also, next week we're doing a card orientation at Piedmont Fed to help people have strokes. I want them people that they can come back to don't give up. That's when I come in for this reason, this one right now. I always fought for the city of Fayetteville. I'm always still fighting for the city of Fayetteville. I got two on right now in the city right now. One thing happened to me, I will never forget this, because Alan, this is what the part Alan did for me. I did a wedding for his wife years ago, but in ICU, my wife couldn't handle it when I was in the hospital. Alan stayed with me, but in ICU, my wife couldn't handle it when I was in the hospital. Alan stayed with me, stayed by my bed side 3 days in ICU from wife, because she couldn't do the handling. Alan stayed there all day. 3 days, stayed there. I came out of ICU. I thank you for that, and I'm there for you. I love y'all. Everyone there. I love you here right now. I just thank everybody. It's just a reason. It's not about money. It's not money. It's not money. It's about family.